Welcome to C# for Crestron programming. Using the Crestron Scheduler library enables you to have events triggered at specific date or a specific time every day, or on specific days. The scheduler is available in both programs and libraries, and has some very specific rules for implementation. The example code is available for download. Scheduled events on the processor are created in a group. This allows separate programs to have separate schedules, as well as a single program having multiple scheduler groups. When the scheduled event horizon is crossed, the event is triggered to run your code. And the event can reset and trigger again at the same time later. Creating these events has some rules we must adhere to. The first rule is you cannot schedule an event in the past. All events must be scheduled for the future. Checking the date and time of the scheduled event is required, and either is discarded or modified to become valid by scheduling into the future. The second rule is you cannot have two events with the same name. They must have unique names. Adding in our using statements for scheduler and system.collections.generic for access to lists. We are going to have several events, and we need to create a container for each one of them. Create our container objects for the scheduled event group and the list of scheduled events. We can now create an instance of our scheduler group. When the program starts, we need to retrieve all the events from the system as read-only, save them into a temporary list, and then clear them. Then recreate the existing scheduled events from that temporary list so we can edit them and subscribe them to our event handler. Here we created a method to do the work for us to make adding events more efficient. One of the easiest ways of scheduling an event is formatting it with a C# datetime class format. In lighting and AV, typically the event we want to happen daily or on certain days at the same time. But the scheduler wants a fully formed date. Therefore, we need to assemble a date time of today and the time we want the event to trigger in minutes and seconds. Next, we must check to see if the event is in the past, and if so, move it to the future by simply adding a day. We cannot have two scheduled events with the same name. We can ask the group class if there is anything scheduled with the same name. If false, we can go ahead and create our event. The first thing we do is add an entry to our list of events and create a new instance in that new entry with the name we chose and into the group we have created. Because we are using a list, we need to get the index number of the new event we just created. We can leverage the count property, and we can subtract 1 to get the actual index number because lists are zero-based. We can now set all the event properties, but be careful. Some of the properties need to be set last as they depend on the information before it. Setting the recurrence should be the last thing set before we subscribe to the event and enable the event. If you do not set the date and time before this, you will throw an exception as it will look for the date and time and find none, throwing an error. Subscribe to our event handler, enable the event. The event handler has event properties that can give us details on what event was fired to make decisions on what to do or how to handle them. Here we just will generate output to see the event details when they trigger. With our method complete, we can now use a for loop to generate 10 events and call a method that lists them. Compiling and uploading to the test code and watch it function in real time. We can see that the program loaded all 10 events, adding a minute to each one. And as I fast forward time, we can watch each one trigger the event handler. Because we set these to be persistent, we can see that they are still in place and when they will fire next. Looking at the command line, we can use a console command to retrieve this. show all events is the command used. -I, semicolon, the program name, and -G, semicolon, the event group name, will list our events that are currently available for the system scheduler to trigger. We've explored the basics to set up and use the system scheduler to trigger events in our program for lighting or AV system automation. This allows us the ability to have code run at scheduled times. Thank you for watching.